Right, I'm 100% with you now. I don't see who else is in. Have they joined, Sister Lucy? Do you know if they've joined?
I can't see.
Okay, let me
I
just try
can't
and
see
get a hold
Yusuf
of.
Mohammed or Dr. Zahir on the
I'm going
call.
to call them quickly now, and then maybe you can just do a general intro before while I get them quickly, Sister Lucy.
Okay. Okay. So let's begin. Assalamu alaikum, everybody, and thank you for joining today. So my name is Lucy Bushell-Matthews. I'm based in the UK, and I'm your chair for today's Regent's Business Schools discussion on partnerships. I'm co-founder and director of Shepherd, which is a UK consultancy for faith-based charities, providing governance consultancy and training, and I'm formerly Chief Operating Officer of UK's National Zakat Foundation. I have a connection with South Africa. I lived in South Africa for 7 years and I worked in the NGO space. For some of that time, I was a manager at Islamic Relief South Africa, and I brought in people and funds to support its work. So it's a pleasure to be connected back to your sector today. Just a quick aside before we get into it, I found when I lived in South Africa, Muslims often wondered about my name. So just to clarify, yes, I'm Muslim. No, I don't have an Arabic name, and only I have the name I was given at birth, which means light, just like Nur. So about today, the idea today is to learn from different perspectives about partnership, to share honest experiences, and to take away something practical that we can apply in our own roles. Let's have a look at what we're going to cover. Here's the rough agenda. I'm conscious we're starting about 10 minutes late, so let's see how we get on. We'll start with our panel conversation. I think we have 3 of the 5 panelists with us, so inshallah they will be joining.
Sister Lucy, sorry
Yeah.
for that. Yeah, I think we're going to continue without the other 2, and if they join, they join. So can I ask the other? Can you unshare your screen for a minute? When you're ready, you'll unshare, and then the guests will just unmute themselves, unmute and show and enable their cameras. So whoever is on, can they enable their cameras? I will continue trying in the meantime, but let's continue without stopping, Sister Lucy. Thank you.
So anybody who feels able to, please put your cameras on. It's always lovely to be able to see people. I can speak into the ether, but if we can see anybody, then that's all feels well, we're much more part of a community. We have 3 of the 5 panelists with us so far. Inshallah, the other 2 will join us soon. If not, then we'll just hear far more from the 3 who are here. So we're going to start with our panel conversation, drawing on real examples and lessons. And then I'll introduce a short exercise before our break. We were due to have a break about 10:15, so an hour and a quarter in. So let's see, maybe around 10:15, 10:30. After the break, there'll be time for the individual exercise. So there'll be a break. If somebody could go on mute, whoever that is. Thank you. And so I've just mentioned that we'll have a break and an individual exercise, and clearly this time is your own for about half an hour. So whether you have a break, individual exercise, or swap it round, it's up to you. After that, we'll come back together for discussion in groups. We'll have some feedback, and then there will be an in-house SANZAF reflection session and a Q&A to bring everything together. And the Q&A will be within SANZAF, where you will feel free to hopefully ask questions and provide your own answers amongst the different expertise you find within yourselves. And inshallah, we're due to finish by 12. So before we begin, I'd like to share a LinkedIn post from a few days ago. It's from the CEO of Charity Right, a charity which provides daily meals to children in 8 countries, including Malawi. And the CEO wrote, 2 food charities met in a UK warehouse last week. One tackles hunger through school meals. The other rescues surplus food from waste. The conversation that followed opened possibilities I hadn't imagined. I visited FareShare to learn more about their work and explore how our organisations might collaborate. FareShare takes a different angle on hunger. They work with suppliers and supermarkets to redirect quality surplus food from landfill to food insecure communities. For 2 hours, we bounced ideas on a dozen different ways our missions could intersect. The breakthrough. Charity Right will soon launch UK programmes. We've spent years feeding children in Bangladesh, Malawi, Ethiopia, but food insecurity exists here in the UK too. Different in appearance, same in impact. Children arriving at school hungry in the UK face different challenges than those in Cox's Bazar, but hunger still blocks their potential. FareShare's infrastructure and our meal delivery expertise creates possibilities for reaching UK communities we couldn't serve alone. The CEO goes on to say, I'm excited to tell you more as things develop. Collaboration between charities often gets discussed theoretically. This felt different. Two organisations approaching hunger from opposite ends, finding where our circles overlap. The impossible becomes possible when more organisations join the fight against a common cause. Reach out. This conversation needs more voices. So, with that, I'd like to introduce you to between 3 and 5 people, I'm not sure how many, each of whom brings a unique voice to this topic of partnerships. So, Maulana Sahel Wadi, do we have you on the call? Yes, we do.
Salam, yes.
Okay, great, thank you. So, it's a pleasure to have Maulana Sahel on the call today. He's the Global Executive Director of Ashraful Aid, an international relief organisation dedicated to uplifting communities affected by poverty, conflict and disaster. Under his leadership, Ashraful Aid has expanded its reach to over 30 countries. It reaches over 600,000 beneficiaries annually, provides both emergency relief and long-term sustainable solutions. Beyond his role at Ashraful Aid, Maulana Sahel serves as an educator and a humanitarian leader, mashallah, a senior lecturer of Hadith at Madrasa Miftah Ulum, treasurer of the National Muslim Correctional Services Board of South Africa, and he's also chairperson of Minaxa, an organisation supporting imams and muadhins nationwide. Now I'd like to come on to Sheikh Bilal Ismail, who I know is on the call. Sheikh Bilal is founder and director of the Imam Development Programme that oversees the support, development and empowerment of over 600 imams in 14 countries in Africa. He's been teaching as an Al-Kawthar instructor, as well as the head of the Al-Kawthar Students Guild, and he's graduated from Medina Islamic University. Personally, I had the pleasure of meeting him last year when he so expertly hosted a large group from Mercy Mission. Maulana Riyad Lagadeen, please tell me if I've pronouncing your name correctly. Yes, you can see, Bilal, your hand is up. You would like to say something?
Yeah, just something with regards to the time, Ukhti.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the email that I received. It said 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock, but you mentioned 12 o'clock.
I can clarify. So someone else, if you could, I clarify. Yes, for the panelists, it's going to be, it's until 10, sorry, I'm an hour different, but it's until 10:15. So just an extra 15 minutes, if that's okay. And then there'll be a break, and then it will go on to SANZAF only people will be talking, working together. Great. So thank you for asking that. Maulana Riyad Lagadeen, am I pronouncing your name correctly? Is that okay?
That's fine, no problem.
Perfect. Thank you. So he's from Al-Fida Foundation, where he's head of the Talimi and Zakat department. Al-Fida offers skills training to alleviate poverty in multiple areas across South Africa and holistic support for victims of violence. Al-Fida also coordinates monthly Zakat distribution in the Eastern and Western Cape and builds and supports masjids, local prayer spaces and Islamic schools in disadvantaged communities. Maulana Riyad has been in his role for 12 years, mashallah. He's also a trustee at 2 mosques and the principal of an Islamic girls' college. Welcome. Now, do we have Yusuf Muhammad? Are you with us? Yusuf Muhammad, CEO of Islamic Relief South Africa. Seems not. And Dr. Zahir, are you with us?
Assalamu alaikum, ya Amir.
Okay, perfect. So Dr. Zahir Ismail Essop, President of the Islamic Medical Association of South Africa. The organisation combines health advocacy and health worker support, providing community screening and community education, as well as services such as clinics, renal dialysis and food hampers. Previously National Treasurer, Dr. Zahir is a Johannesburg-based medical practitioner, a Hafiz of the Quran, mashallah, and is passionate about the fiqh of medicine and traditional Islamic scholarship. So welcome. Thank you all for being here. Thank you to the panelists. Thank you for our attendees. So let's get started. I'd like each panelist, if I may, to ask you to start with a story. Can you share one story where collaboration worked well for your NGO and why it succeeded? So just a specific personal story from your organisation. We don't have Yusuf from Islamic Relief. Perhaps we could start with Sheikh Bilal from the Imam Development Programme.
Repeat the question, Ukhti. I missed that.
The question is, can you share one story where collaboration worked well for your NGO and why it worked well?
Okay, khair, inshallah. Jayed. So maybe let's look at an example which is local, inshallah. Brother Yusuf Muhammad is not here, but a collaboration with Islamic Relief. A few years ago, Abdurrahman Shat, who's at the Durban office, he came to us around 8 or 9 days before Eid al-Adha, right? And he says, you know what, we have a disaster. We have a major problem. What's your major problem? Our implementation partner in Zimbabwe has let us down, and we only have like about a week left for Eid. We still need to procure the animals. We need to sort out A to Z. Nothing has been sorted out. Can you guys partner with us? We said absolutely no problem whatsoever. In fact, we would welcome something like this. We had at that time around 50 imams in Zimbabwe. Now there's around 100 of them, and these imams look forward to any type of collaboration where the imam is the hand which is giving and not the hand which is taking. And so via this qurbani, which we put our heads into it, alhamdulillah, and within 7 days everything was sorted out. The Islamic Relief representatives from South Africa, they came with us. They were there on the ground doing their inspections, etc., etc. And so it was a win-win, alhamdulillah. And then the year after, we continued with that collaboration. From the point of Islamic Relief, they needed to do qurbani. They needed to do this project of food aid. From our side, the imam is a winner. In his community, people look up to him. People respect him. He's no longer on the day of Eid, maybe if I could get a parcel somewhere. No, he's the one distributing 10, 15, 20 animals slaughtered and distributed by his hands. You could send an imam for a 1,000-hour leadership course versus on the day of Eid, he is the hero. Many a times that on the day of Eid, him being a hero makes a vast bigger difference than the 1,000-hour course. Wallahu alam.
Jazakallah, thank you. And you shared that in such an emotive way. I think it would really resonate with all of us. Thank you. And Malana Sahel, could you share your own story, one story where collaboration worked well for your NGO and why it succeeded? You may have an individual hero, or it may be something more general.
Yeah, no, I think what really stands out for me was during the KZN riots that happened in KwaZulu-Natal. It was a very tight and very difficult time for relief agencies and for people, of course. And there weren't any trucks that could provide relief into KZN because of the rioting and because of the high risk. So I remember that we had a call for baby formula, and for baby diapers, for baby food, and we collaborated very nicely with AMS, Emergency Services, to charter a baby formula into KZN. And they had a flight that was leaving at around 3, and this happened at around 1. So we quickly made a call to our local partner saying, Roshni, put out a call that we need volunteers to pack their flight before it leaves at 3. And within half an hour, the guys were, and the volunteers were there, the community was there out, and they packed the plane within half an hour. And by around 4 o'clock, the plane landed in KZN. So, that type of collaboration, like within a few hours, to be able to provide aid, much needed aid of baby formula in KZN at a very constrained period of time. That partnership really, when people from different parts banded together, and we were to be able to provide, I would say, almost life-saving aid at that point in time.
Thank you. Jazakallah. And mashallah, both of those stories that you shared, there's an element of really quick responsiveness that I think has made this partnership very impactful. So thank you. Dr. Zahir, would you share one story where collaboration worked well?
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Yeah, so I think with us, with IMA, we've got the low-hanging fruit of always having medical problems, but we aren't always able to provide an easy solution, a quick solution, and a cheap solution. But we were lucky to have partnered with OCAF South Africa and the Pakistani Doctors Association of South Africa, ICSA. And we've had the big issue in our hospitals was the backlog of cataracts. And it's such a simple procedure. It's a short procedure, but you're restoring sight, which makes a massive impact on the patient's life. And so together with the Pakistani doctors who happen to be working in a public hospital in OCAF, we managed to source the lenses and basically start a project called the Cataract Project. And it's running now for about 10 years between the three organizations. We've done close to about 17 or 18,000, I think, cataracts. And we partner now with a global initiative called FEMA Save Vision. And we've done in excess of 60,000 cataract surgeries in about 15 countries or so. And it's in about 10 years. It's made a very, very meaningful impact on patients' lives. And the easy thing about it is easily implementable. It's very nicely packaged where the donor feels like it's giving something tangible. You say, do you want to restore the vision of sight? And they make their contribution feeling that they know them for that one patient. Then you put it in a nice package and the doctors feel that they're contributing time and the donors also feel that they can contribute by contributing the lenses and the consumables. So alhamdulillah, it's been a very, very nice collaboration.
Thank you. Thank you for pointing out some of the features that make it particularly powerful. Jazakallah. And then last but not least, Maulana Riyad. You may have seen a note, all panelists from Hussein asking if you could just keep your cameras on so that all the attendees can see you. Maulana Riyad, are you there and are you happy to share a story of a collaboration that worked well?
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah, in 2024, we received a request from Gift of the Givers in relation to the zakat distribution in the Eastern Cape. So they've been following our track record in the Eastern Cape and Western Cape, and they felt that they needed to have a collaboration with us so that we could boost the zakat distribution in the Eastern Cape. So resulting from that discussion we had, alhamdulillah, we had now increased the zakat distribution in the Eastern Cape by over, I would say, 15 extra venues or rural venues as such. And we've also had joint distributions where we've got access to their logistics in terms of warehousing, in terms of their vehicles. And we've also exposed them to our online zakat distribution program, which basically facilitates efficient zakat distribution, data collection, and so on and so forth. So this partnership that we've had with them, alhamdulillah, it has proven to be beneficial because together with that, we've also gained from their expertise in terms of skills empowerment, development, and empowering the imams as well. So from 2024 up until today, alhamdulillah, that partnership is going well, and we are exploring more avenues in terms of benefiting from each other, alhamdulillah.
Excellent, thank you. So we've just heard here about a relatively long-term partnership, as opposed to some of the earlier ones we had a few minutes ago that were very quick and needed quick turnarounds. So thank you for sharing that one. So for all the SANZAF participants, I mentioned that there's an individual exercise coming up. That will be about potential partnerships that SANZAF can do. So please, I'm sure you're doing this anyway, but as you're listening to our esteemed panelists, if you could start thinking, what can you learn from this? What can you take away? What lessons might there be for SANZAF? And what partnerships might you start thinking about as a result of what you're hearing today? So I'd like to turn back to our panelists. For each of your organizations works in welfare, relief, community development, albeit in slightly different ways. So the question is, and it's an open question, from your perspective, what role do partnerships play in increasing impact and, importantly, avoiding duplication? So how do partnerships increase impact and avoid duplication? Who would like to answer that?
Bismillah.
Go ahead.
Khair, inshallah. Just from our perspective, Imam Development Program. So what are we, or rather what we are not? We are not a Darul Uloom to teach somebody to become an Imam, nor are we an employment agency where we hire the Imam and khalas, the Imam, you report to us A to Z. No, we are not that. Rather, we are something in the middle. We offer working, employed, graduated Imams a top-up package, plus minus $5,800 package, 100,000 Rand per year per Imam, etc., etc. Anyway, with regards to partnerships, and you know how this could benefit matters, alhamdulillah, These imams, 600 plus minus of them, as I mentioned earlier, they are ready, they are desperate, they are hungry for any type of opportunity that will make them shine in their community. Charity X is looking for students who will study journalism, for example. Very quickly, one message can be sent to these imams, and imams, we are looking for somebody between the age of X, Y, and Z, and he should have these qualities, and here's a bursary available. Khalas, the imam knows that in his community there's a youngster, he's now 19 years old, he's doing nothing. The charity put out the word to us. We put out the word to the imam, grassroots on the ground there. Within a quick, short period of time, we were able to identify somebody. Many a times, Brother Hussein Isuf, Brother Arif, etc., they message, we're looking for this type of student. There's a bursary donor here, or there's somebody who wants to cover 10, 20 students. We need somebody very, very quickly. We want it sorted out fast. Quickly, message cascaded to the imams, alhamdulillah. Just like that. You can talk about medical intervention. You can talk about hamper distribution. You can talk about qurbani. I was with a certain charity in a certain country, and they handled the distribution. We came to a certain place. They don't know that this guy is the imam of the masjid. He's sitting under a tree there, and one of the trustees was in charge. He had all of the names, and people started, first thing, it's very surgical type of distribution. There's no ruh, there's no soul in it. Charity comes there 3-4 hours late. We're so sorry, we came late, etc. Anyway, camera, picture. Everybody get into a line here. Stand, get your stuff out. Your name's not in the line, in the book here. Khalas, go back, etc. But in the eyes of the people, the imam of the local masjid was sitting under the tree. He came forward to take a parcel. He was not given a parcel. Distributor doesn't know that because they're alien to the community. In the eyes of the people, look, our imam went forward and he wanted a parcel. He didn't get a parcel. He was made to feel small. And so he is small. In our eyes, he's small. In the eyes of these people, he's also small. But if you did the opposite, even if you came as a foreign charity, where's the imam? Sheikh, Imam, why are you sitting under the tree, Sheikh? You are supposed to be front man. You are supposed to be here. Every parcel is given in his hand. He then gives it to every participant. Even if he does not get a single parcel, the moral support that you've given him, you've patted him on the back, you've kissed him on his forehead. In the eyes of the people, he is respected. And so now, inshallah, when the people, when you guys leave, hey, these people respected this imam. These people, they know this imam. These people honored him. We need to also do the same. And so, from the Imam Development Program's point of view, we are but, inshallah, for many other charities, a distribution network, saving you time, saving you effort, saving you logistics, and but putting the Imam first, inshallah. Barakallah.
Thank you. Thank you, Jazakallah. Thank you for that really important reminder about the respect in terms of how you work with the local community. So I'd like to turn to another question, still on the overall question about why partner. And this can be, again, for anybody who is on the panel. What are the biggest fears or obstacles that NGOs like SANZAF might face when it comes to partnering with one another? What's stopping people from partnering? What's the biggest fear? So Sheikh Bilal, you're on the screen, but any other panelists, if you'd like to come forward, if you'd like to say, what do you think might be fearful about going into a partnership?
If I may come in here, I think
Please.
that one of the fears that we've encountered when it comes to partnerships is that organizations fear that their donors might be hijacked by the partnering organization. And also when it comes to, let's say, divulging what they've distributed, what they've handed out to people. So they tend to be reluctant to divulge this to the partnering organization. So that becomes a case of, there's no trust between the organizations, So this is something that obviously, if we eradicate this with the niyat, with the intention of benefiting the larger public or the larger community, then I think we'll be able to reach very far in terms of our efforts. But it's as if, everybody's just running a closed corporation, not wanting to let anybody else in. Yet, we've been granted various strengths. For example, if I take Al Fida Foundation, we've got an extensive network of food hamper distribution. So maybe another organization outside of the Eastern Cape, they are involved in, let's say, skills development. So they could partner with us and say, look, we've got access to funding for food hampers. You people in the Eastern Cape, you do that for us. And if you've got people that require skills development, we will do that for you. So this also will eradicate duplication, referring to that first question you had asked, so that you don't have an outside organization coming into a locality doing distribution, not knowing the dynamics on the ground. Whereas if they had partnered with somebody locally, it would make that easy. In fact, I must mention that on certain occasions, we would even partner with Maulana Suhail and them from Ashraful Aid. So they would, pass their food hampers down to the Eastern Cape. Their team would come and together we would do that distribution. So I think if we keep the bigger picture in mind, that is the benefit of the underprivileged, of those who are in need, then this will eradicate all issues of mistrust, inshallah.
Okay, Jazakallah. Thank you. So I'd like to ask now about turning to some of these benefits that you just touched on. What are those deal makers that convince you a partnership will be worth the effort? So you have fears to begin with, but then you have deal makers that make partnerships work, and deal breakers that sometimes some of you have already touched on that makes partnerships fail. So if we start with the deal makers about what makes the partnerships really work, when you're considering going into a partnership, and I'll come to you, Maulana Suhail, what are the deal makers that convince you a partnership will be worth the effort? So, for example, it may be to do with your mission, it may be to do with a leadership commitment. Maulana Suhail, would you like to start sharing your thoughts?
Unmute, Maulana, unmute.
Perfect. Jazakallah for that. I think for us, there are several factors that we have to look at. I think first, there's a little bit of a nuance between collaboration versus being collaborative. So sometimes it doesn't mean that you want to go into collaboration, but you're collaborative. And inshallah, if we do have time, we will elaborate on that. But I think for us, looking at a partner, I think there has to be an alignment first of values between the organizations. There are values that align between what the organization or the programs that each organization are doing. Then secondly, there also has to be an alignment of strategy. So, for example, for us as Ashraful Aid, we have a strategy that we're going to capacitate our team, say, in Africa. And we would then look at organizations that form part of that strategy. I think also the third thing that we would look at is, for example, like the style and working of another organization. So, for example, certain organizations, alhamdulillah, we have a good relationship with them, but we feel it might be very difficult for us to work with them in a sense that their style of working is very different, or maybe I would say sometimes very archaic, and so it's not going to work. We rather keep a good relationship as opposed to actually let's try to do something together. And then I think also what also factors is, for example, size and capacity. So, for example, we might look at an organization or a grassroots level, but we'll also look at, does the organization have the size, or do they have the capacity, do they have the skills of implementing for us or working with us? Or likewise, do we have the capacity? So, for example, we've had a Canadian organization that we were collaborating with, and they want to do medical projects in Zanzibar and in Africa. So, for us, you say, look, we'll be supportive of it, but we don't have the capacity, we don't have the expertise. You'd rather go to IMASA. They would be more aligned in terms of capacity. We could provide maybe the sort of the muscle, but the technical expertise, we don't have the technical expertise. So, we have to look at size and size and capacity. And then also, I would also think in terms of the general, how are we going to actually, how it's actually going to work? Is there an alignment, or is it going to be short term? Is it going to be long term? And what would be the sort of the value proposition for each organization? What would be win-win for each organization?
Jazakallah. Thank you for that very structured, systematic list. I just want to ask you one question before we turn to Dr. Zahir. You mentioned, you clearly articulated value, strategy, size and capacity, and alignment with length of time. You mentioned style of working. Could you just elaborate a tiny bit on that, where to make sure you have alignment on style of working?
So for example, there might be an NGO that's how do I say this without incriminating myself?
Go ahead.
Yeah. So for example, you might have an NGO that might have, that's been long time they've been working. They might be senior. And for example, we might have a younger team. We generally have very young people, and so by us collaborating with the other organization, that are generally very sort of dictative and their style, whereas we're much more collaborative. Let's discuss it. It sometimes becomes very harsh for our teams, especially on the ground, to be able to sort of work. So there's a clear generational gap in terms of management style, that might not align with us. As I said, for us, we much more collaborative. Let's discuss it. Whereas sometimes organizations, their management style is much more, go here, do this, do that.
Yes. Okay.
So.
Perfect. Thank you.
So sometimes that makes it a bit challenging for especially for our teams to be able to work with the other organizations.
Yeah, thank you for that addition. Thank you for clarifying. Dr. Zahir, would you like to contribute now?
Yeah, I just want to first, before I even start, make reference to what Maulana Sohail was talking about with the collaboration. As we speak now, the meeting is happening between IMASA and that Canadian organization about the Zanzibar medical thing. It just shows you how networking is so important in this game, because a simple phone call, a simple communication will put the right people in touch with the right people, so that you get collaboration as opposed to just talking. Our panelists have touched on two very important things, which we found both as advantages and challenges. The one is having local knowledge or being in touch with the local organizations. We find, because we're part of the Federation of Islamic Medical Associations, we're about 54 countries. So if I'm doing outreach in Malawi as IMASA and I don't contact the Islamic Medical Association of Malawi, and I'm doing all this great work and they are totally clueless to it, but the local organization has got insight. They say, but you've either duplicated services, or that organization is not as reliable, or you could spend your money better this way, or the need is even greater, and instead of just coming and going. So I think local knowledge, being in touch with the local organizations, whether it's the local imam, the local community leader, on a bigger scale, the national association. For example, today's Zanzibar meeting is taking place with the Zanzibari, which is semi-autonomous Ministry of Health, is part of it as well. So on the ground, they be collaborating. So that's the one issue. And I think the other issue in terms of working together, once you feel that your needs are aligned, is to have a good MOU in place. IMASA, we were involved in medical Hajj services during Hajj to provide medical support, but we didn't have a very strong MOU. And subsequently, he said, she said, you promised, I promised. The working relationship became very difficult, to a point where the relationship eventually broke down. So I think two things is to collaborate with the local organizations on whatever level you think is important. And secondly, to have a good MOU in place, so there's clearly defined roles and clearly defined responsibilities, so that there's a shared goal.
Okay, Jazakallah, thank you for that. I wonder if you could, and our panelists again open, but if you could share what kind of mutual benefit you have found. So you've shared some key criteria, values, strategy, style of working, local knowledge. I really appreciate that, Dr. Zahir. And what have you been able to achieve as a result of those partnerships that you think you wouldn't have been able to achieve on your own? What kinds of mutual benefit have you found? Dr. Zahir, you may wish to continue, or another panelist, if you'd like to step in here.
So I think from IMASA's point of view, I mean, the cataract project is a very simple thing, because we don't have the surgical expertise, but the Islamic Circle, the Pakistani doctors, had lots of ophthalmologists who were looking for work. And so I think expertise is very, very important, because that means that you're using another organization's expertise and gaining mutual benefit.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Anybody else? Sheikh Bilal, would you like to comment on the kinds of mutual benefit you found?
Okay, khair, inshallah. Ala kulli hal. At the end of the day, we are here also in Africa, and most of the panelists are all South Africans here, alhamdulillah. Sometimes there are international charities, and mashallah, what they are good at is raising money. What they are good at is raising capital, whether it be in the States, Canada, Australia, etc. A problem that takes place almost every year, that the moon sighting. And so technically in Australia or in Canada, problem, the moon has been sighted and tomorrow it is Eid. Tomorrow it is Eid. And we've not been able to distribute our Zakatul Fitr. As it is, it's difficult under normal circumstances, they would argue, to find recipients for the Zakatul Fitr. And now at the last hour, it's a major problem. Khalas, don't worry, inshallah. For example, the Imam Development Program, you don't even need to transfer the money. How much is it? 100,000 US, 200,000, whatever. Khalas, within 24 hours guaranteed that it would be in the hand of the recipients, inshallah. And so they're sitting with a major problem that Eid Salah is in like 18 hours from now. And we haven't sorted out. Even if we do an international transfer, it's going to take days. It might be Saturday today. Khalas, we will sort out your problems, inshallah. So that's an example where there's a immediate current problem and a solution can be found via the means of partnership and collaboration, inshallah. But with regards to the difficulties, as you mentioned, yes, in theory, all sounds fantastic and everyone can talk from now until Qiyamah with regards to the benefits and nobody can do everything by themselves, etc. The theory is fantastic. Obviously, the devil's in the details, and practically, yes, that comes with all of its challenges, inshallah, unfortunately.
Okay. So we'll turn to the challenges in a moment. But before we do, I'd like to ask the panelists, and perhaps we can start with Maulana Riyad, what kinds of structures or agreements work well? Somebody's mentioned an MOU and having clear roles. But if you could comment on the kind of structures or agreements that you found that are most effective to really make the partnership work. Maulana Riyad, would you like to comment?
I think the MOU is extremely important. And like Dr. Zahir has also alluded to the fact that, you have to sit down and discuss, look at the, the goals that you wish to achieve, and also the loopholes that come about in achieving those goals. So once you sit around the table, you discuss it, put it in the form of a MOU, then you'll find that, you won't pick up any challenges going forward. But once again, if it is a he says, she says, then we pick up issues like that. And look, every organization has got different, what we'll say, their operations and the way they conduct their operations. So we have to try and meet common ground. And again, as I alluded to in the beginning, the purpose and the objective are those who are in need. That is it. When it comes to, for example, the distribution of zakat, then unfortunately, sometimes we've got a whole lot of criteria besides the criteria from the side of fiqh, from the side of the Shariat. And this puts tremendous strain on people. I'll just give you an example. By way of an example, in the Eastern Cape, our people are living, way below the bread line or the poverty line as such. So certain organizations would require that the recipients have to go to the bank. They have to stamp a letter stating they don't have bank accounts. Now, some people, they don't even have access to sufficient funding for electricity. Where do they still have, excessive amounts of money in their bank accounts? So in our dynamics in the Eastern Cape, this would not apply. But others, let's say in the Gauteng region or the KZN region, for them, that would be important because the level of poverty would be different. So once again, communication and consideration as well plays an important role. And then once we've consulted with each other, we have to then cooperate with each other in achieving that goal.
Exactly. Thank you. So I'd like to now turn to these challenges that you've touched on as part of talking about what can go well. There's clearly difficulties as well. So if you could each share a story of what have you seen go wrong in partnerships? Can you share an example? And Maulana Suhail, if we could start with yourself, can you give an example of where it's gone wrong? It may have not gone wrong within your own organization, but something that you have seen in the NGO space in Southern Africa. Or has it all been sweetness and light and perfection?
I think for us, the partnerships that we have chosen, we they're having an MOU obviously serves as a good base, and then further for each project having a project proposal. So it also outlines in terms of each person's responsibility. So whether a person is an implementation partner or where the UN implementation partner, what type of implementation is going to happen. And then further on, to have mechanisms like regular check-ins with one another and mashwaras with one another, I think that does, sort of iron out quite a bit. So I think I might, for us, we really haven't had any major partnership issues. So I think if you have proper mashwara with one another and have a very good collaborative understanding as a backdrop, inshallah, inshallah, things should go well. If there are challenges, sometimes, as I did mention, is that maybe going back for the next project, we feel, there's no alignment in terms of the way that we work. So we've sorted out this project, but going forward, we feel that, we're not suitable. The way we operate and the way you operate is not suitable. Then, we just feel that rather we continue our separate ways. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Well, it's amazing to hear how positive your partnerships have been, and it sounds like there's been some really good groundwork that has happened at the beginning to get those MOU, project proposal, and the collaborative nature between you. So, Jazakallah. Then, Malana Riyad, any areas or any examples that you're able to share of what's not gone quite as well as you had hoped?
Yeah, I think as the same as Maulana Suhail has mentioned, alhamdulillah, our partnerships with the various organizations have been good so far. And what plays an important role in our decision when deciding to, collaborate with anyone is the mashwara that takes place before that. So we would outline our goals, we would outline our processes and procedures. So if we find that we are not aligning with each other, then from the very start, we would say, look, let's not go into this. We don't feel that it's going to work. In fact, we had a proposal from one organization just before one of the Eids with regard to some distribution. And we felt that we did not have the capacity to enter into this, collaboration or this partnership with them. And before even allowing the program to take off, we said, look, let's not go into it. It's not going to work. Rather, best is find somebody else that could, fulfill that request of yours. So look, alhamdulillah, whenever any issues arise, we would get our partners together and let's discuss. These are the challenges. Let's work through it and let's take it from there. So this is basically our situation at this moment. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you. Hussein, I can see your hand is up.
Yes. I won't tell you which webinar I'm more interested in, but as you can see, I'm talking here. I'll be interested, Sulusi, more about the partnerships that we rejected or the partnership offer. So, and not so much what Sheikh Bilal spoke about. I think, Suhail spoke about a Canadian agency wanted to do something medical. Okay, so we knew that wasn't within your wheelhouse. That's why you conveniently pass it on to somebody else. But potentially where that there is a strong opportunity for a partnership, but you've declined it or you've rejected it because of, and so don't name names, but maybe it's an interesting question to ask. Why would you decline to do inter-collaboration when you know that there's a good fit between the institutions? What has stopped you from doing that? I don't know if that's a useful question, Sister Lucy.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Sheikh Bilal, I saw some facial expressions in response to that question, so feel free.
Khair, inshallah. Khair, inshallah. So there's, alhamdulillah, the IDP, because of its structure and how we operate and etc. I think we probably have about 25 different partners currently. 20 when I say active partners, right? And so we are built on those partnerships. Even the partnership with the Imam at his masjid, it's a partnership between us, between his Lajnatul Masjid, his masjid committee, and the Imam. Even that relationship is a partnership type of relationship. We are not an employer-employee relationship. So, for example, just in the last 2 months, we turned down an offer with regards to Qurbani next year. So the planning starts well ahead. Qurbani next year in a certain country with a certain partner, no names mentioned. Why? Because this year, and this partner, we've been working with them for some time, and we know they are usually late, etc. And so Qurbani, for example, is like maybe about 10 days away from now, we will have all of our plans, etc. We've even passed on the money to the imams. Money has been given to the imams. Imams have already gone and purchased the animals. And the experience has shown that the SLA document with this organization, either it will happen one day before Eid, sometimes it happens even after Eid. The SLA, what's the service level agreement, etc. But subhanAllah, this year, around 3 days before Eid, after 2 individuals, senior in that organization, told us, Sheikh, we're waiting for the SLA to be signed. You guys are taking so long. Can we go ahead, at least give the imams the money? Price of animals is going to go up. Imams not going to be able to find animals at the late date. Yes, Bismillah, go. We are totally committed to this matter. 400-500 animals, etc. Bismillah, we went ahead. Suddenly, 3 days before Eid or 4 days before Eid, there's a phone call, there's an issue. You know what, we're not going to go ahead with this matter. Sheikh, what do you mean we're not going to go ahead? 2 guys, yeah, but we've not signed an SLA.
Of course.
Sheikh, example, we haven't signed at that moment. Even the SLA for Ramadan has not been signed. This relationship is now 3, 4, 5, 7 years old, etc. Right? We haven't signed it. Oh, this was obviously a disaster. And so because of that bad experience, we don't want to, we do not want to partner with regards to this project in country X next year. So that's one example where, and what happens sometimes is that maybe the head of a certain organization meet with somebody else and, there's alignment. Excellent, mashallah, all is well. But then down the line, there's the finance person here meeting with somebody in finance, programs person meeting with somebody in program. And then there's disalignment between them. There's issues and problems between them that also, can happen. And then the last one, and I'll end on this, is a barrier to any type of collaboration, partnership. Many a times it's also disrespect. Disrespect. What do you mean disrespect? You would send an email 400,000 times. There's no response. You would meet somebody so many times. There's no response. At least say, what, Jazakallah khair, Allah bless you. You moving in the direction of X. We're moving in the direction of Y. And, I don't think there's any room at the moment. Maybe in 5 years we can look at the matter. Alhamdulillah, you know where you are, inshallah, Shahid. There's a certain entity, proposals were sent. And sometimes putting together these proposals take a lot of time. The guy says, okay, I need 50 questions with regards to borehole X. Where's the nearest water location? Yeah, they're costing. Give me 3 quotes. All of that is put together. It takes probably a week, 1.5 weeks. And it is sent. We've decided, we will revisit this matter later on. Allah Mustan. I mean, I do understand there's that risk, there was no obligation. You could try, something happens, something doesn't happen. But many a times there's this, you get a feeling of disrespect. You get a feeling that, you're a small, tiny, entity here. And so, khalas, the big boys, etc. And I will add on this one. I would turn them like Zionist entities. What is this? We're talking about collaboration, cooperation. You're talking Zionist entities. This is an example. We will do nothing. We, mashallah, will provide the funding. You must do every type of proposal, every type of receipt, every single thing, color coded, mashallah. And unfortunately, we only give 1% with regards to admin fees. When we look at your finances, mashallah, you are taking 12% admin, you are taking between 15 and 20% admin, but then your implementation partner, like a Zionist entity, you use them, and I would say abuse them, that they must do everything on the ground, and everything must be accounted for. When the imam went from X to Y to go and purchase something, it's the receipt for all of that from that small, tiny shop he must provide, but then the admin fee for all of this is 1%. Leaves a very bad taste. Barakallah feek.
Thank you. Yeah, you've touched on something really important here in terms of the power dynamics between if it's not an equal partnership and if one partner has all of the funds and the other is distributing them, and about the admin fees and making sure that no partner is worse off as a result of the partnership. So thank you for making that very explicit. Dr. Zahir, you would like to step in here?
And I'd like to thank on behalf for highlighting certain aspects. I think the one thing when it comes to the power dynamic where we experience is where you have political parties or political players involved. So everybody has an agenda and wants to further an agenda, the way we touched on the whole Zionist entity story. And so obviously when you're being collaborative, you have people with political agendas or political parties themselves. And the reality is, many of them have knowledge on the ground or the local councillors. So you need to work with them collaboratively. But the problem is that you need to make sure that you understand the agenda. And not, you don't want to go and do a distribution program or a medical outreach program and it gets branded, which is what we experienced once, where we were invited and explicitly, and the political party said explicitly, don't worry, it's a breast cancer awareness event. You can do your screening. And we got there, instead of pink gazebos, they were blue gazebos. I'm not going to mention names. And so it wasn't a breast cancer awareness, it was more political party campaigning thing. And so we had to literally pack our bags and walk out, or or tell them, listen, take all the branding away. I think that's very, very important in our organization. We find continuous proposals from political parties. It's very easy for a political party to say, listen, no, we want to help with the medical outreach. We will provide an ambulance. And when it gets there, the ambulance is branded with the political party. So it looks like you're on a political campaign as opposed to providing the service. And the second thing, Maulana Bilal and Maulana Suhail has also touched upon, even Sheikh Riyad, is inertia. Many of these organizations have inertia. Because you've got a big organization that's top heavy. And the thing with these organizations is that the decisions get made. For example, with IMASA, we have volunteer-based organization on the top level, and the management changes every few years. So there's lots of inertia, and whoever the president is, he drives the project, and he sort of puts it on the back shelf for the next 2 years if it's not his pet project. So inertia in this organization is also a big deal, I think, and the work needs to get done on the ground. So the people up top should help, like what Sheikh Bilal alluded to. Even if you're just the donor, try and make things as easy as possible for the distribution organization so that they know that they can get this job done quickly. A very interesting example we're busy with at the moment is the distribution of baby formula in Gaza. Because somebody managed to get an inventory of baby cans already there on the ground in Gaza. And the invoice that was quite a large invoice. And so we had to work it within 2 weeks. We had to raise about $550,000 because the distributor wanted it. He's got they've already started the distribution. So you needed to work really, really quickly. So if you're still going to have your meeting and wait for your exco meeting and talk to the council, it's really not going to work. And that's where the collaborations with other organizations work, because we reached out to some of the well-known ladies organizations, and within 2 weeks we managed to take about 20% of that off FEMA's load. So I think inertia is the one issue. The other issue is political interference. And the third issue is that obviously knowing where your partnership, your timing is very important.
Could you say a bit more about the timing?
Your
Because I hear
timing of
something
your
about
project.
yes,
Are
yes.
experiencing strain because of high.
Yeah.
Sorry, were you talking to me, Sister Lucy?
Yes, I was, yes.
If we can beg maybe 5 or 7 minutes more from the rest, from the panelists, we'll appreciate it. And if you need to conclude thereafter, we can conclude thereafter.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
I say if you can give us 5 to 7 minutes more for the panel discussion. Do you need another 5 or 7 minutes more, Sister Lucy?
Yes, I do. We started a little bit late, so if I could ask the panelists if you could stay on, perhaps still about until about 1:15. Is that okay?
If the panelists are comfortable, if they have to leave, they can leave. But let's work for 1:15 if we can. Shukran. We won't blame panelists if they leave before that. No problem. Thank you. Carry on.
I think where we're with Dr. Zahir, I think you were just answering about the time aspect.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm just saying that you need to really the inertia is a big issue with bigger organizations, especially volunteer organizations.
Okay, I'm really hearing the pressure that there's a lot of inertia, and then suddenly it's sort of last minute, and that people are being asked to adapt really fast. So are there any deal breakers for any of you on the panel that immediately stop you from pursuing collaboration? Any immediate signs of concern that a number of you have touched on this issue of trust, bullying, different power dynamics. Are there any particular concerns that you would just stop up front before engaging or continuing with the collaboration? And Sheikh Bilal, you mentioned that a particular way you've been treated meant that you wouldn't continue in future. Is there anything else that would stop you, like literally in your tracks, from pursuing a certain partnership? No? Sounds like you.
Sorry, there was a problem with my. I think there was a problem. I missed that.
I was asking whether there would be any deal breakers that would immediately stop you from pursuing collaboration. Any sort of trigger concerns that you would have that might stop a partnership that was in train?
So our mission at the Imam Development Program is the preservation of Islam through activated and empowered imams and muallimas. The borehole, the hamper distribution, the cataract operation, anything and everything like that, they are a means for us to try to achieve our objective. Our objective is preserving Islam, but how? Through activated and empowered imams and muallimas. Food aid is in aid of our mission and our vision, inshallah. And so, we would be willing to align and partner with anyone and everyone that helps us achieve that mission, inshallah. So right now I can't, if, for example, the Imam Development Program is not open to, for example, the Shia, right? All right. So the broad Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, Ahlan wa Sahlan. Why? Because we are religious by our nature. Our maqsad is preserving Islam, preserving Sunni Islam through activated and empowered imams and collaborating or adding a Shia, etc., to the Imam Development Program or collaboration with them to achieve their agenda. No, this wouldn't work with us.
Okay, thank you. So if we could now turn to the future in the last few minutes before I open up to questions. How do you see partnerships evolving in the South African NGO landscape over the next 5 to 10 years? If you could make this a little bit general beyond your own organization, how might partnerships change? What hopes do you have for partnerships? Perhaps we could turn to Maulana Riyad. How do you see partnerships evolving in the South African NGO landscape?
I think that because of the change in economic circumstances, we would have a need for larger organizations to partner with the smaller ones to enable greater reach or impact in those areas. And obviously, if you take an organization in an area that is predominantly poor and the donor base is very small. So I think that this is going to be the route going forward, that the smaller organizations in the poorer areas will have to reach out to the bigger organizations for assistance in order to perpetuate the help and the assistance to the underprivileged in their areas. And the larger organizations, I think they will be sort of compelled to go this route, because maybe focusing only on certain areas or certain, let's say, certain countries as such, might be a case where they'll be neglecting their domestic issues or domestic, needs. So we'll have to look at it in this sense that things are not getting better financially and economically for people in South Africa. So, as the saying goes, charity begins at home. Our hope is that, we could focus on the challenges that we are facing back home in South Africa.
Jazakallah. And then Maulana Sohail, going to step in here?
Yes, so I think partnerships and collaboration, and I mentioned also being collaborative, is going to be very integral for organizations going forward. If you really want to make an impact on scale, I think it's also important that we look at the type of collaborations, and I think it will be important that we share this. So, for example, some collaboration is just maybe would be knowledge sharing. So to share information, share knowledge, I think that will be maybe one form of collaboration. The other one would be maybe skill sharing. So, for example, capacitating organizations that might not have, for example, like the governance, and helping them, establish their governance, especially maybe community-based organizations. I think the third one, when you become an implementation partner. So sometimes, there's various forms of how you can implement. So, for example, you could implement for someone and give them the partner sole visibility, or we could have joint visibility. So, for example, when we were selling trucks in Gaza, we were 3 organizations working collectively, behind the scenes, working with government and DIRCO, etc., and the Egyptian government. But when we done our marketing, it was done separately. So each one had their own, they had their own visibility. But fundamentally we all work together and send trucks in together from the Rafah border. And then the fourth one is having representative offices. So, for example, we've recently signed agreements with our partners. So we've expanded our network into Southeast Asia, for example, Malaysia, Singapore, Pakistan, and Indonesia, Cambodia, etc. And likewise, we have become a representative partner for them in Africa. So they have access into Malawi, Kenya, Ghana, etc. So this is sort of the higher form of partnerships that could be done globally. Alhamdulillah.
Excellent. Thank you so much for going through that in order like that. So I'd like to now finish, before we turn to questions from our attendees, I've just got one closing question for our panelists. If you could give SANZAF one piece of advice as SANZAF builds its own framework for partnerships and alliances, what would it be? What advice would you give to SANZAF? So if I could start with Dr. Zahir, what would you want them to think about as they build their own framework for partnerships and alliances? And then I'm going to be turning to the participants to ask if you have any questions for our panelists for a few minutes. Dr. Zahir.
I think for me, it's important to have a long-term vision and goal with whichever partners you're looking at partnering with. So it must be a mutually beneficial relationship that will become a long-term relationship, because that's where your networks are built, where your long-term collaborations are built. The cataract project was started as a stopgap to get rid of the waiting list in a government hospital for cataracts, which is turned into almost a multi-decade partnership with many more partners. So I think you have a long-term vision, but make sure short-term you have the right things in place.
Thank you. Maulana Riyad?
Well, I think I would say that ultimately the goal is to bring relief to those who are downtrodden, those who are underprivileged. So informing your alliances or partnerships with various organizations, keep that as the goal. And as the other panelists have alluded to, efficiency, as quick as possible, get that relief out there. Let's, put our egos aside, all the, all the nitty-gritties, and that keep in front that ultimately the aim and objective is to bring relief to people. That is it.
Jazakallah. Maulana Sahel.
So I would think it's important from the leadership point of view for being collaborative to filter down right through the organization. I think that's very important. Personally, the other day I had some of our junior staff that was in the organization, engaging with other organizations, and it was coming off a bit bullying. So I had to tell him, what, guys, let's see how they can benefit as well. It's not about Ashraful Aid trying to get all the limelight or all the donations. It's collaborative. So sometimes it has to filter from the top down through and permeate the entire organization, that we are a collaborative organization. We're not in competition with one another.
Yeah.
And I think that's the advice that I could that I could share.
Thank you. And last but not least, Sheikh Bilal.
So this is advice to SANZAF in terms of
It is.
partnerships.
It
Okay,
is.
advice to SANZAF in terms of partnerships. Okay.
Exactly. Sorry, can I just say, Hussein has written co-opetition. In fact, that was the word that was in my mind. I'm thinking, what is that word between cooperation and competition? And it exactly is co-opetition. Go ahead, Sheikh Bilal.
Khair, inshallah. Okay, so let's see. With regards to the Durban office, alhamdulillah, I'm talking about from the point of Imam Development Program, very, very good relationship, and the brothers and the sisters there, alhamdulillah, very collaborative and always open to partnerships and assisting, etc., etc. Alhamdulillah. The other offices are not to the level of Durban. So advice to the other offices, this is just our experience. You ask for our advice, that from our point of view, the Durban office comes out number one compared to the other offices. That's number one. And number two, I don't know whether this is just a ala kulli hal, Jade, maybe just a perception, maybe a wrong perception, that many at SANZAF, I think, are old, Jade, are old. And we need the old people, mashallah, the nasiha and mashallah advice, etc., etc., Jade. But you need much younger blood, and I think brother Arif in the Durban office and some of the younger team, fantastic. We hope, inshallah, you get, as one brother said, it's not about the destination, but get the right people on the bus, and inshallah the destination will organically make itself, will decide itself, inshallah.
Jazakallah. A lovely generational reminder as well about the importance of bringing on the younger people. Thank you. I must say, as I look around now, almost everybody seems to be in that younger category. So thank you for each of the panelists today who's joined us. Like, we've got just a few minutes for questions. I saw there was a hand up earlier. Would the brother who has a hand like to ask that question, or anyone else? Any questions from what you've heard today? Any burning questions?
Thank you to the host.
Arif, is that you speaking?
Yes, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah khair to all the panelists for the informative insights into the work of NPOs and NGOs. And we hope, inshallah, that we could collaborate with everybody so we could better our impact and our reach to all needy people and recipients in South Africa. So just a point to Sheikh Bilal regarding bringing younger people. So you'll be happy to know that this year our bursary program, we're assisted by 3 young interns between the age of 18 and 21 that helped us sift through all our bursary applications.
Alhamdulillah.
Jazakallah khair, shukran.
Barakallah feek.
Any burning questions for our panelists based on what you've heard today, or thoughts about partnerships that you'd like to share with the panelists? Just allow another moment for anyone to gather their thoughts together. So at this point, I'd like to thank each of our panelists for your insights and your time. Dr. Zahir Esop from the Islamic Medical Association of South Africa, Maulana Riyad from Al-Fida, Sheikh Bilal from Imam Development Programme, and Maulana Suhail from Ashraful Aid. Panelists, thank you. May Allah reward you. Thank you for all of the insights and advice that you shared today. So at this point,
Ameen, barakallah feek.
Ameen. Ameen. Jazakumullah khair.
Assalamu alaikum, panelists. So each of you now at SANZAF are going to have a worksheet to fill in independently before we go on to the break. So I'm just going to share with you the information about the worksheet, if you can see that on your screen. And if I could ask, I think we have Hassan on the line, if you would be able to pop into the Teams chat or share on email the worksheet. Hassan, is that okay? Or Hussein, would you be able to pop that into the...
Yes, I'm going to do that now, yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to do that now, thank you.
Okay, great. So you should find the worksheet coming on into the chat if you'll be able to download that. Now, this is the task for you for after the break. If you could complete the worksheet on your own, so you obviously you can talk to anybody, but this is just for you and yourself to think about. Choose 2 potential SANZAF partners. This doesn't have to be something that you can implement immediately. You're just at the thinking stage. 2 potential SANZAF partners. They may be all sorts of different partners, an NGO, from government, corporate, faith-based, or community groups. So they can be partners at any level. One of the other aspects of partnership that came up was about time. They can be short-term partners or long-term partners. And then for each partner, there will be the same set of questions. You may have listened today and noticed we talked about deal makers, what makes partnership successful, and deal breakers, where can it go wrong? And so in your worksheet, you'll be looking at those same 2 aspects, deal makers and deal breakers. So on your own, once you've looked at those 2 different kinds of partnership, then compare your 2 answers to have a look at what the similarities and differences are between the 2 different partners that you've thought of just as potentials, and then what this might mean for how SANZAF can do partnerships in the future. After the break, we'll be coming back, and then in your groups, you'll be looking at all of your answers and working on how best to come up with a model partnership. So people within your small group will be looking at all of the work that each of you have done. Have you all been able to see the? I can't see it yet in the chat.
Not yet, Cecil. I'm having a challenge. Give me a second. I'll load it shortly.
Okay. So the idea is that we've now got, we're back on track in terms of time. It's just gone 15:15. And so we've got half an hour now, about 15 minutes of that to have a break and 15 minutes to fill in your worksheet, which is just coming. Hussein, perhaps you can email it to the participants if if it's difficult to put in the chat.
I'm going to try. Yasmin, if I email it to you, can you forward it to everyone else? Or Arif, can I
Sure.
email it to?
Sure, you
Yeah, okay,
can.
I'm going to email it to you. Thanks. I'm having a challenge uploading it. Sorry, man. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. So inshallah, you will get that in the next few minutes, your worksheet. But either way, you have half an hour. We don't expect you to spend more than 15 minutes or so on the worksheet. If you could resume the call at 1:45. So that's, I want to get my time right because I'm an hour different. I think it will be 10:45 South African time at 10:45. So if you stay on the call right now, you've got your cameras off already. You're on mute already. So if you could just stay on the call, but then rejoin at 1:45. Okay, inshallah, I'll see everybody then. Any questions at this point before we head off for 30 minutes to have a break and do the worksheet that you should find on your emails? Any questions?
Just to clarify, Sister Lucy,
Yep.
that people should stay on the line. I've emailed the document to, hold on. I've emailed the document to Sister Yasmin. She will forward it on to everyone else. But please stay online and we'll be back at 11:45 South African time.
Yes.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sorry, Hussein.
Okay.
Meant to Yasmin from Durban or Yasmina from National?
Yasmina from
Okay.
Cape Town.
All right, no problem. Shukran.
Okay, so sounds like please check your emails and then inshallah we'll see you check your emails and complete the worksheet, and inshallah we'll see you back at 10:45. We have a question from Shafiq, you just asked it. Any other concerns?
Assalamu alaikum. No, I got clarification. So the break is for half an hour. So we're back at 11:45, inshallah.
Back at 11:45, having gone through the worksheet and thought about it yourself, yes.
Okay, shukran.
Okay, Jazakallah. See you in half an hour, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
The man casually released an arrow, and it pierced cleanly through the hole of a coin 100 meters away, then struck firmly in the center of the target. And this scene left the onlookers frozen in shock, unable to understand how the coach, once called a loser by the previous champion, could possess such incredible skill. Little did they know, the man's true identity was that of the masked
Uncle
champion
Dadabai,
who had
can you mute your mic, please?
He was involved in a car accident 3 years ago. To uncover the truth behind it, he hid his identity and joined a failing archery.
Can I just check with anybody who's hasn't left their workspace? If you've received my email, I just emailed on Hussein's worksheet. Can I get a confirmation that it's received?
Assalamu alaikum. She received it.
Assalamu alaikum, received. Kimberly.
Okay, shukran. At least I know it's working. Shukran, everyone.
Didn't receive, Lady. Assalamu alaikum. Didn't receive, Lady Smith.
Adabai, maybe you want to try your send and receive and just check, because I think the others received it, maybe just making its way to Lady Smith.
Something's coming, so I'm just waiting, inshallah.
Okay, inshallah.
So welcome back, everybody. It's now 10:45, and hopefully you've had a chance for a break, a cup of tea or coffee, and you've received the individual exercise and you've had some chance to think about your answers. Perhaps you've been able to write them in or you've written them down elsewhere. So could I ask you to turn your cameras on now? The panelists have gone. It's all SANZAF people together. If I could see the people on the call, that would really help to know who's back from the break and the individual exercise, and who's still away. So if you could please turn your cameras on if at all possible. Thank you. Is your hand up to ask something? So would you like to comment? Brother Mohammed Dadabey, your hand is up. Would you like to say anything? I'm happy for you to keep your camera on. It's really nice to be able to see another friendly face in the group here. So if any of you could please turn your cameras on if you're back, then it helps us to know who's in the room. Thank you, Ibrahim. Anyone else back from the break? Mohammed Dadabey was briefly back and went off camera. So if you could, anyone turn their cameras on if you're back, because we'll be asking you now to go into groups. So it's really helpful to know who's even here. Can I check? Did you all receive the email? Okay. Did you receive the email? You're able to see the worksheet? Arif, I can see your face. Are you able to answer that? You're on mute, but I think you're nodding.
Yes, we have received it, yes.
Okay,
And we had a look at it, and we've got some answers for you, inshallah.
Perfect. That's just what I wanted to hear. Thank you so much. So I'm hoping now that everybody is back in the call. Could you just perhaps wave at me if you've got, because I have asked a few times for you to turn your cameras on, but those people who don't want to turn your cameras on, could you at least mark that you're here in some way? So because Yasmina is here, thank you, Ibrahim. Because we're about to go into groups and it's going to be a very quiet group. Thank you, Amir. I've got a thumbs up from Amir. Okay, Hassan, are you here and on the call?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah. So your role now is to be putting people into groups. So I think we've got 25 attendees. So maybe they'll be going into groups of 5 or so. And so, inshallah, you've all now had an opportunity to have, after a break, you've had an opportunity to fill in that individual sheet. If you're not fill it in, at least start thinking about what partnerships could SANZAF be involved in, what are the deal makers and the deal breakers. And so now we're going to go into small groups, and your small groups are going to look at 2 questions, and I'm going to share these 2 questions now, if you can see that on your screen. So these are the 2 questions. You're going to be reviewing the individual input that you've all been reflecting on now, each of you on your own. And so from that, if you could, in your groups, come up with 1 strong example using that same example, same structure of deal makers and deal breakers. So 1 strong example of a potential partnership that SANZAF could get involved in. And then also have insights about the conditions SANZAF should set. You've heard today about the role of governance, the role of having a longer term vision, having an MOU, having local knowledge, power dynamics, importance of trust, alignment, no disrespect, and so on. So if you could share some of the insights you've heard as to what could apply from that, and you've also heard some generous advice from the panelists. So what insights does that give you about the conditions SANZAF should set? So you've got 20 minutes to come up together with 1 aligned example of a potential strong partnership for SANZAF and some insights about the conditions for that partnership. Any questions about the group exercise you're going to go in? You'll have 20 minutes starting from when you get put into groups. Any questions? I can see a handful of you on the camera, which is great. Anyone else who'd like to turn the camera on? I'd really appreciate it. Hassan, with that, can you put people into groups, please, for 20 minutes? And then when you just before you do, though, within your groups, if you could nominate 1 person to be able to feed back, because we'd like feedback from each of your groups to share obviously the example and the insights. Okay, Hassan, I'll leave it to you to put people into groups.
Sister, Are you referring to Hussein Essof?
No.
No, it's Hassan Evans. Hussein
Sorry, I
Essof's
didn't
right
see
hand
you
man.
online. Apology for
No
that.
problem. No problem.
Molnas.
This what happens after.
So I'm doing
Talking about
I'm doing back.
I think we're being pulled back, yeah, into the main group.
Allah.
Hassan, that was like the first time I was ever in a smaller group outside of a big group. I think you must share your strengths with us. I really don't know how to do that, but it was awesome. Shukran.
Fun.
Okay, great. So welcome back, everybody. I hope you enjoyed being in your small groups. There's something, that means you can have a lot more time to have proper chats, exchange of views, hopefully share a joke or two as well, some lighthearted comments. So hopefully we've been thinking about all things partnership so far for the last couple of hours, and now is a chance for you all in SANZAF to share your insights. So I think we had 5 groups, and I don't have any particular you were in rooms. I don't know if anybody noticed your room numbers at the top. If you did, that would be great. And so I'm going to call you by room number and see if you know who you are. If not, then we'll just go randomly and see. Hopefully, you've all nominated a speaker. So to remind you, you've hopefully been discussing your individual partnership ideas, come together to think what out of that seemed the strongest idea. And so you've looked at deal makers and deal breakers for your strong partnership idea. And clearly, like SANZAF, mashallah, has been going for decades. So this is not a new thing for you, but there may be something that just having had these speakers in the panel for the last hour or so has just sparked some initial thoughts about developing these partnerships even further. So is there an example? And also, do you have insights about the conditions SANZAF should set to strengthen its partnership framework? So we could start with room 1, if you know who we are. And if not, then we'll just go randomly. Room 1. Anybody know if you're in room 1? No. Okay. So I'm just going to choose a participant, and anybody so I'm going to just go alphabetically. Amir, anybody in your group who was maybe yourself, maybe someone else in your group who's been nominated to be the speaker for your particular group?
Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, you actually chose the right person. So we had a nice group in the sense where we had 2 regional managers, 1 income generating person, 1 finance person, and 1 welfare person. So obviously everybody looked at partnerships within their respective fields. However, we actually looked at potential partnerships nationally, and one that stood out was perhaps partnership with government. And the potential partner examples could be social economic developments, social skills development, and working with the Department of Labor. So the purpose of the partnership would be to empowerment of individuals and perhaps broadening the reach, increasing employment opportunities, and identifying the skills gaps. For us, we decided the deal makers would be creating opportunities, gaining necessary tools and support, financial backing, and network potential. However, the deal breakers, we said, was lack of transparency, interference with policies and procedures, poor financial management, cultural mismatch, poor resource allocation, and the political involvement. And the type of partnership would be a public/private partnership. And the next steps would be to meet with key role players, constantly engage with the departments, and engage with ministers.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Amir. There's quite a few deal breakers that you mentioned there. Did you have a sense in your group as to whether those particular criteria could be overcome? with the conversations and discussions beforehand?
Not really. Obviously, because we in South Africa, we know the government that we are dealing with, but the potential financial backing could open quite a lot of doors for us.
Okay, thank you. So, do you know if you were in room 1, Amir, or did I just pick? I know I picked on you because your
No,
name
sorry,
begins with
I
A.
have no. I don't know what.
No.
I don't know what room I
No
was in.
problem. So I'm now going to continue down my A's. Arif, are you in a different group to Amir?
Yes.
It doesn't have to be you who speaks, but somebody in your group.
He was chosen.
No, they nominated me. They nominated me to speak. I don't know why, but anyway. But anyway, we'll have a group discussion now. So we are fortunate to have our CEO with us, Yasmina, and we had Brother Osama and Imran Minty from Johannesburg. So I think our discussion revolved around partnerships, and if I may make the point that specifically, sorry, somebody is speaking at the back.
Could you put everyone else on mute, please? If you're not speaking, if you could go on mute.
David.
Sorry.
Okay, no problem.
Named and shamed. Go ahead.
So I think the important aspect that I spoke on was how can we as an organization draw from the expertise that we have in terms of education, in terms of bursaries, in terms of skills development, partnering with other organizations that don't do similar work. So for example, like Penny Appeal South Africa, Gift of the Givers, Ashraful Aid, they don't really focus on education. So as our national imperative being reaching the indigenous community and having a 70-30 development ratio, we could partner with these organizations, and they could possibly send us candidates that we could skill and we could help during their feeding programs and their feeding schemes and in their work out in the community. The deal makers, of course, will be that to have a similar vision, be accountable, and also share the same values as you have. And I also mentioned that you can partner with an organization, but however, that organization has to be credible in a sense that if something goes wrong with them, you're also in it as a partner. So you've got to have a shared value and similar accountability with any organization that you partner with. Not aligning with values is something that organizations need to consider prior to them engaging in any partnership agreement. Brother Osama and Imran also spoke a bit about partnerships, and Brother Osama spoke on the Islamic Medical Association with the Gauteng not being involved in the medical field. They could partner with the IMA to assist the recipients of the Gauteng office to get medical assistance. And I also spoke about the Islamic Development Bank, that which is IDB, that SANZAF is in partnership with nationally, and they have many graduates in the medical field that could help the different regions in terms of medical assistance. So these are the few discussions that we had. And also we would like to further take these discussions with Ashraful Aid and IDP to see how we could make it easier for them to collaborate with all our offices nationally.
Okay, Jazakallah. I'm pleased that some of the panelists, it seemed, are directly relevant to being potential partners for SANZAF.
Sorry, can I just add something to that?
Go ahead.
Yes, we also discussed partly something that we felt was important from a process point of view. So, the various examples that Arif mentioned relates to different competencies and, different, I think, propositions where these different organizations are. And we felt that if there's a need for us to partner, is that it's important for us to co-create the solution as opposed to one partner bringing in the MOU and saying this is how it's going to happen. If we identify, for example, we also discussed an issue in the Eastern Cape where we have very limited resources, but there's a huge need. So let's say we identify a partner and let's, for the sake of the argument, use Al-Fida. And we identify a community where there's really a need, but we have no way of reaching this community because our resources in the Eastern Cape is quite limited. if we have a process where there is an initial brainstorming where all ideas come to the table and then the MOU reflects whatever those plans and suggestions are, then it's a partnership of equals, and that helps kind of the spirit going forward, as opposed to generally one partner coming in from a position of strength, and so the other partner is to some extent lose their identity, lose their a little bit of their standing, and so I think that for us from process point of view, that's important.
Yeah, thank you for that reminder, Yasmina. And I can imagine with SANZAF and its presence and its profile, it must be particularly careful about making sure that all partnerships are partnership of equals. So thank you for that reminder. And now so far I've had a hit rate of 2 out of 2 with group spokespeople. The next person on my list is somebody called Asra. Asra, are you here? And are you in a different group to the other 2 who have spoken so far? I bet you're really regretting your names being with A. Asra, are you on the call with us? You don't have to speak, but someone in your group can speak.
Assalamu alaikum. Asra's in our group. Our spokesperson is Shafiq Baransa.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
Shafiq, you can go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So we were in here, I had Abdullah in my group, so I'm still trying to go through my notes. Abdullah shared the best with us. So alhamdulillah. So specifically, I think one of the things we identified as SANZAF as an institution, we had to identify and make sure that we clarify that SANZAF, we are a Zakah institution. Before we part of any other institutions, whether it's corporates, whether it be government, we need to make clear that we are a Zakah institution and we collect and distribute Zakah funds. And then we use other supporting mechanisms with regards to income and stuff like that, other projects, events that we do to try and generate income to support those programs. And I think more importantly, we work, I think everything we do is according to Quran and Sunnah. So with that is that sometimes we pose limitations with ourselves of who we partner with, because I use one example and in the group, for example, when I told, I think Brother Ibrahim, I said, just imagine Ramadan, we had Pick and Pay institution, they allow us to collect from the till Fitra and Zakah. They have posters up in all the shops within the Western Cape. But with regards to the beliefs and the understanding of what we do and their beliefs with the political situation, also with Palestine, that we could not go with them. We had to decide, because that would be brilliant for us as a funding institution trying to get money in. That would be ideal to have our name in at all the Pick and Pays across the Western Cape, maybe the country also. But unfortunately, we could not do the partnership. So those one of the things we had to look at. But one of the we identified from government corporates, from government specifically, we have to probably partner with looking at social development, social welfare, because some of the challenges we face with the guests and the recipients that we see, it's mental health, the drug abuse. And one of the other partners also within government is skills training, because we know there's funding available from them, because we're doing a lot within around the country, but if we get funding from them, we know there's millions available, we can do so much more. And then from an NGO perspective, we looked at Give to the Givers. And we smile when we say that name, is that because if you look in comparison to what we do and what SANZAF does, they have something that they've been able to market and be out, and people know what they do, people see. Because I just asked Abdullah, uniquely, last year we got a benefit or a donation of 3 million rand of petrol from Engine. And if SANZAF would receive that, alhamdulillah, we'll do so much more. Not speaking about the vehicles they got. So I'm not sure about the partnership, maybe leverage on what they do. But that's something we didn't get into much discussion because Abdullah was still speaking about something else. And then the other corporates, I mentioned about corporate Pick and Pay specifically, Vodacom specifically, if you look at who was, those are things that doesn't align with some of the values of the Habit SANZAF, because we are strongly valued and we're strong. The things that we value as an institution is Quran and Sunnah, distribution of Zakah specifically, and there are some certain limitations. So that is something probably we have to go into and look at a bit more. But there are opportunities for us to try and collaborate with many other institutions. So that's not much we went into, but as you know, time wasn't sufficient for us for that.
Of course, I'm sure you could have benefited from more time. Thank you. And you've importantly talked about primary your importance of values, and obviously particularly the Quran and Sunnah. Anyone else from that group want to add something? I appreciate there wasn't much time for you to get all of your thoughts together. Anyone else from that group want to chip in? I'll take silence as you're very happy with your group spokesperson. Now we have Ibrahim is next on my list. Ibrahim, has your group spoken before?
My group has just finished speaking now.
Your group's finished speaking.
Shafiq was speaking first, G.
Okay, mashallah. So if you haven't yet spoken, there should be a couple of groups that haven't yet spoken. Could a nominated spokesperson just make themselves known, please, to me?
Assalamu alaikum. So I was in group 3, and Jawi brought up a point. So I think he would be the perfect person to bring the idea through on the discussion that we had in the group, inshallah.
Okay, thank you. So please come forward. And if you could,
are you volunteering?
I love that volunteering. If you could turn your camera on, it would be great so that we can see you. I think you volunteered or been conscripted. I'm not sure, one or the other.
Okay, I'm on. Jazakallah khair. I think we spent more time reflecting on the types of partnerships we have. It's ironic that SANZAF has been open to partnerships. So although we kind of speaking about where we can collaborate and bringing people on to collaborate, I think listening to the panelists earlier made me reflect on the type of examples that they gave. Was quite often we as organizations look for partnerships of convenience. And convenience is in times of emergencies, in times of like we're forced to. And the type of reporting we then look at is then consequential. And it's primarily like donor-driven reporting. And that kind of like frustrates me because this, in as much as we're saying that we are here to strengthen partnerships, the objective of strengthening partnerships is to make a meaningful impact on the community. Yeah. And by getting into these types of partnerships, in my opinion, just goes against the grain of good planning, excellent partnership, and having the maximum impact on community. And that kind of stood out for me. Saying that, I didn't want to, with this reflection, I kind of derailed the discussion because I usually do that.
Sorry, before I just stop you for a second, but yes, sure. I'd like to turn to reflection in a moment in terms of reflection, what you learned from the panel, what surprised you, resonated, and so on, if we could all reflect as a group. But right now, this is a specific example about partnerships for SANZAF, one strong example, deal makers, deal breakers, and insights.
Yes. Yes, and for me, it's easy for us. For me, values is one of the main things that is a deal maker. I kind of find that if our values align, there's less need for MOUs from personal experience because we're very clear about what the objectives are and if the outcomes are clearly indicative. However, the type of partnerships that generally we kind of accustomed to is partnerships where we pay and you get the work done. And is that a partnership? So a question I also ask the group is that considered a partnership where there's an MOU, where there's an SLA and we pay and you get it done? Because then service providers also partners in terms of what we do. And for me, partnership, the key aspect of partnership is that it has to be more meaningful. It has to be, we have to have a shared vision and we have to have a shared expertise, or not a shared expertise, we have to have an expertise that will complement each other for us to take the partnership forward and to achieve that outcome. And that is not purely meeting the objectives of the donor and making sure we've distributed as per plan. Right. So that's the one thing that we spoke about. But I kind of like focused on, and the question I asked the team, and we were having this discussion about, it's nice to have these partnerships with external service providers. However, I think that we need to make stronger inroads in establishing good partnerships and a framework that will allow SANZAF to thrive by allowing regions to thrive. And by saying that, I'm saying that it's nice to have outside partnerships, but within the country, within the different departments we have, within the different structures we have, we've really got people and pockets of excellence where it is very difficult, and we may be sitting in an office and we kind of like see someone else doing something really good and think that it's only being done by that organization. when we just not networked well enough to realize that within the organization and institute itself, we've got people and expertise and experience to really be able to deliver with excellence. And my point that I made is that I'm hesitant exploring any partnerships beyond SANZAF, and we should looking at and consider how we can strengthen the partnerships amongst ourselves. So it was a bit of that discussion. Alif's hands is up. Alif, you were part of the discussion even if you weren't there, right? Because literally, like, we find, like, if we just do a quick assessment of the types of projects we do, we find that every region manages its own bursary project, its own welfare project, its own development. And some regions would be really the best at doing this and have the potential, the capacity to do it nationally. Yet we have not formalized the type of partnerships to allow us internally to thrive in that framework.
Okay,
so
exactly.
it was a discussion. Yes.
Yeah, great. And I just, before we turn to the others, I just like to say, so it was interesting because the task was to come up with a strong example of partnerships. I think your group, you've sort of almost thought a bit out of the box and thinking, well, yes, we absolutely could do external partnerships, but is there an opportunity to strengthen partnerships inside within SANZAF, as you're such a large organization? So thank you for sharing that very different insight to the other groups, which is really valuable. So we have a couple of hands up. We have Arif.
Yes, Javed, Jazakallah, I think your reflection is an important reflection because sometimes if we move our eye away from the goal, then we start looking at convenience and to make things easier for us. But we don't realize the end goal is to assist and improve the quality of life of the beneficiary. Just to give you a short example in 10 seconds, with the bursary program, we've been trying for the last 10 years as SANZAF. We've been trying to get other organizations in the area to collaborate with us. And I can tell you something, we failed. Simple reason is other organizations have their own sort of guidelines and rules and regulations that sort of, it surprises me in the sense that we are trying to avoid duplication so that we can have more beneficiaries. But when you get negativity, then you realize, you know what, you have to continue with the work, and whoever joins you, joins you. Whoever is left behind, there's no other option but you continue with the work. Shukran.
Thank you. Now there should be one final group that hasn't yet spoken. I don't know who you are, but you do. So please come forward. Is there another group there?
I think that will be my group 4. So I was nominated, but literally, I think that the
Sorry, Taiba, before you go speaking, could you turn your camera on? Because it's much more helpful if we can see who's speaking.
Sorry.
Thank you.
I'm outside.
That's great. Lovely sunshine.
I think the discussions that are had with management or amongst management is very different from the kind of discussions that we have like underneath management. Basically, we did touch on pretty much everything that everybody else has already spoken, but probably in less depth. So I learned a lot. I basically agree predominantly with what Javed said as well, is that what I have been saying for a while is that we need to see how we can collaborate within the organization, since we're a national organization, and assisting each other. So because we often get the comment that SANZAF works in silos, and that is something that we have, I know, as an organization, actively try to work to rectify. So that, for instance, I know that Durban does bursaries or they do the chef score. So, for instance, if we have people on our bursary list in Joburg that want to do that, then we can redirect them to Durban. Similarly, like every region has certain things that they're really good at. And then beyond that, to look for external partners. But again, like I said, like Javed said, the values need to align. We need to also be aware of the fact that as a Zakah organization, we also have limitations into what we can spend that money on. So we have to be aware that our partners are choosing correctly. But everybody's already said everything that needs to be said as far as I can understand. Yeah, I don't really have much experience in this area.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you, Taiba. Although you seem very self-deprecating. I'm sure you've got much more experience than you acknowledge, but thank you. Anyone else from Taiba's group who would like to chip in? Or do you feel it? I mean, obviously, it's always hard to go last. So if there's anything else from your group, otherwise I'd turn to more general reflections. Okay, so let's leave that there. Thank you for taking part in both the individual exercise and then coming together in your small groups to understand what that might mean for SANZAF. So in our last and final section, I'd like to have some reflections, if I may, amongst all of us here. All of you are from SANZAF. Just what did you learn today? What did you reflect? What went well? What resonated with you? Were there any contradictions you heard? Any surprises? So, and both from the panel discussion and from the group exercise, some of you have already started reflecting on it in more general terms, such as Javid. So, if we start with the panel discussion, what surprised you most in what you heard? Tabby, your hand's gone straight up.
Yes, something that stuck out with me. Oh, sorry, like I don't know what to do with my screen. Anyway, something that sort of like resonated with me is the fact that somebody mentioned, or somebody on the panel mentioned, that one of the difficulties with collaborations is the fact that as an organization we are concerned, or maybe not our organization, but in general the organizations are concerned that their donors will be hijacked.
Amina, looks like you're the only one that didn't take a room, Amina.
And
Taiba, I think, Hussein, is there an issue?
Hassan, how's it going?
Hussein, we were just in the middle of Taiba giving an answer.
Call, don't WhatsApp me, call me. I'm busy on another one. I can't hear two groups.
Okay, sorry, Taiba.
Sorry about that.
Taiba, carry on.
So basically, the thing that has been sitting with me for quite a while actually on this specific topic is that, if we are looking at our values as an organization and focused on what our actual aim is, and that is to improve the lives of our beneficiaries, with excellence, for the pleasure of Allah, then we also need to be aware of the fact that the money that comes to us is also from Allah. It is not necessarily from our donors. So even if these donors choose to go to other organizations, and every organization has a different thing that they're really good at. So maybe we're not necessarily good at one specific thing that they're looking for. Obviously, they will go to another organization. But I think that if we can keep in the forefront of our mind that if we are doing things according to our values, and bearing in mind that the wealth that is coming to our organization is from Allah, and to have that trust in that, that mindset in what we are doing, then it will greatly impact the outcomes of, our endeavors.
Jazakallah, thank you for that reminder about importance of mindset. Allah, thank you. And all the money from Allah. We have Arif.
Yes, Taiba, I think the organizations that came on board this morning, the fact that they've agreed to come onto a SANZAF platform is already a positive sign, and we could use them. We could use them beneficially to improve our impact. So, for example, the Imam Development Project, they've got resources in 14 or 15 different countries. They've got imams, they've got muallimas. As an example, I mean, for example, if there's an area in Chatsworth or in Phoenix, in Durban, that is an imam, that an imam is there, we could use them for teaching Islamic and Deen classes. Whereas normally a recipient has to jump into a taxi and come in for 20, 25 kilometers, or maybe even further sometimes on a weekend. That's one. Ashraful Aid, they've got a huge reach in terms of feeding and other programs that they do. Also, they're international. I mean, if we have an international request, we have a partner on board. Islamic Medical Association, great. They have all the doctors, Muslim doctors under most of the doctors. So we should see this as a benefit to us and learn from them, so we could also move along the way. Jazakallah khair.
Jazakallah. Thank you. Imran.
Assalamu alaikum. Firstly, thanks to the organizers and to Sister Lucy for putting this morning together. It's been quite insightful. Just captured some notes from the panel discussion this morning that I just wanted to share with the team. I think maybe we quickly jumped into a framework which said that how do we partner? But I think maybe the step before that is just to firstly recognize that having multiple organizations working within the same space is actually a very good sign that the South African charitable space is in a very mature sort of stage, in that we, through the competition that we have with each other, the beneficiaries are going to benefit from that. So I think that's one thing that we need to also keep in mind, is that having multiple organizations keeps us on our toes and keeps every other partner in the ecosystem on their toes as well. So I think it's quite encouraging that we have that sort of system in place. Also, I think that I've many years ago did like my MBA, and I think partnerships was kind of the most important means by which any company or organization can grow much faster than the resources that it has available to itself. So I think the fact that we need to be considering how we do our partnerships is quite essential. I'm also reminded of the fact that they did a lot of research in terms of which partnerships have lasted more than like 10 years. And unfortunately, the data, and this is from the business environment at least, shows that more than 50% of partnerships fail after 10 years. So I think the type of message that we're trying to get across to us is that don't expect a marriage to last forever. Both organizations that want to partner will come together on some sort of shared strategic value that they have in working together that will impact the beneficiaries. And how do you structure it in a way that you do benefit for the time that you are together, and maybe just be aware of the fact that the reasons that bring you together may not always be there. So within your agreements that you structure, to just try and make sure that you understand what is keeping you together, and that you can be mature when those things are no longer in place. There are ways in which you can unravel the partnership as well.
Yes, thank you. Everything is for a season, and it has to be the right season for what you need.